Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, we are back with another episode, guys. Sunday fun day. This is one of the last videos I'm gonna make today on Sunday. Then I'm gonna go to bed. It's tomorrow, beginning of the new week. Time to work. So, hope you guys have a good week. Before we get into the video, hope everybody has a good day, a blessed day tomorrow. Had a good day today. Hope everybody went to church. And hey, let's get into it. All right, guys. Chapter 21. Let's get focused, boys. So, chapter 21 of Genesis. Let's do a little recap. Remember in chapter 20, chapter 20 was pretty much all about. All right, recap of chapter 20, guys. So pretty much remember Abraham, Sarah, and his second wife Hagar, and his son traveled to Al-Bimaik's territory in Garer, right, guys? Remember Garer? And right over here. And because he was over here, he traveled over here to Garer, and then the Geb means dry land, means south, to Garer into what's the king's name? Al-Bimaik's pretty much a nation, and pretty much he told them that's his brother, that's his sister, his wife. He was gonna take her for his wife. The Lord came to him in a dream saying, "Don't do that. I'm gonna punish you. Your entire nation will go down and be dead." And it hurt him very much and deeply because he was a God-fearing man. He respected the Lord. And so essentially, they came into be all and all, and he gave him animals, and he said, "You know what? Stay wherever you want in my nation. I don't care." So now we're here in chapter 21. So let's get it. So, chapter 21. So remember, there's still in the outskirts in the kingdom of Gerar. So it says, the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. Because remember, a couple of chapters ago, he said that he will give Sarah a baby in the spring of the following year. So the Lord visited Sarah as he said he would. And the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham, it was about a year ago, whenever him and the two angels came to speak to him, and they promised him and Sarah that they will give a child, even at his old age. Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. Okay, so Abram called the name of his son who was born to him, so the son that Sarah just gave, Isaac. And that's what God, I think a couple of chapters ago, God wanted him. God said that I will one day give your wife Sarah a son, and you will name him Isaac. And he did so. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Remember when he made his new covenant, he said, okay, everybody in your kingdom, whether you're bought, not bought, born in your kingdom, like as his sons, or born of the slaves from you, they have to be circumcised as they're part of your kingdom. This is my covenant with you. And it's supposed to be on the 8 days. Whenever they're born, it's supposed to do on the 8th day. So he did that, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, quote, God has made laughter for me. Everyone who hears me will laugh over me. So she's saying, look, God gave me a son and he made me laugh. He's going to make me laugh. He's made laughter for me. And everyone who hears will laugh over me. So everybody who is going to be told the news that I'm going to have a child is going to laugh over me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would suckle children, or Sarah would have children, yet I have borne him a son in his old age? Because remember, Abraham is 100 years old now, right? I don't know how he physically looks at 100, because people back then kind of lived a long time. But based off of the way we're reading these past chapters, it kind of looks like they're older people. White beards, maybe a little bit of wrinkles. And Sarah's 90. I think Sarah's like 10 years younger than him. So they're both very old. And so she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah, his wife, would suckle him children, would have children for him? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. So he's saying, they're gonna, like, it's funny, right? I wasn't able to conceive. Everybody was saying, what's wrong? How come you can't conceive? What's going on? And now I'm 90 years old. He's 100. We have children, and now we're laughing together. We're laughing about how we're older age and we're having children. Okay. And the child grew. So Isaac grew and was weaned, meaning as in like he's starting to not eat his mama's milk anymore. He's starting to eat actual human food. And Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian. Remember, that's the second wife. That's the wife that Sarah actually gave to him because he couldn't have a child, and he could see it in his eyes that he wanted a child so bad. She gave one of her maids to him to have sex with and have a child. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, and she was Egyptian, who she had born to Abraham playing with her son. Uh, yeah, okay. So, but Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian woman, whom she had born to Abraham, playing with her son Isaac. So both the children, his second wife's child, his son Ishmael, and his first wife's child Isaac, were playing together. So she didn't like that, right? So she said to Abram, quote, "Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of the slave woman shall not heir with my son Isaac." So she's making a statement. She's saying, in a pretty like I don't know how to say this, kind of malicious, evil way too. It's like it's like, imagine, in today, right? People get married, have a child, and then divorce, and they remarry. And so imagine, like your second wife, or let's say, a man divorced and married again, and she's like, "I don't want our son playing with your other family son together." It's like evil a little bit, right? But I guess it's the nature of some woman. So it says, "Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac." So she's making it known. Look, our son needs to be your heir. I'm your wife. I was your first wife. She doesn't want. She's obviously protecting her son, saying that only one person can take your heir, be your heir, and she wants to be her son Isaac. And the thing was very displeasing to Abraham on account of this son. So he heard this from what his wife was saying, and he didn't like that. It hurt him, and he thought in his mind, "What is she like? What? But they're both my children. I love them both." But God said to Abraham, "Do not displease because of the lad and because of your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, do as she tells you. For though Isaac shall your descendants be named, and I will make a nation of the son of the slave woman also, because he is your offspring." So she's saying, look, don't worry, don't be displeased because of your slave woman, or your second wife, and your second wife's son. Whatever Sarah says to you, do as I tell you. Because remember, Abraham doesn't know this yet, but a couple of chapters ago, an angel came to Hagar, his second wife, and said, "Look, don't worry," because she said very hurtful things to Hagar. Sarah said hurtful things to Hagar, saying, "Leave," after she conceived. And an angel appeared to her at a well, Beer-sheba, I think what it was called, saying, "Look, go back to your slave wife. Don't run away. Your son will be blessed beyond belief, and his descendants. He will have 12 princes," and they were going on about how he's going to have an entire nation. So it says, and he also said, "Don't." He said, "Isaac is the one who's going to be your heir, not Ishmael. But I'm gonna protect Ishmael, and he's going to be okay. But Isaac's going to be your heir." So it's kind of like letting Abraham know, "Don't worry, like I got you. I'll protect your offspring. So don't worry." Because it's dangerous, right? Because if he just says, "Okay, fine, leave," out, it's just a wife and a little son. They're gonna die out there. It's hard. It's a hard life. And it's very scary. It's a very evil world that we're living in. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, which means like an animal's legit an animal's skin. It's like leather to keep water inside. It's like a water jug, but back then, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder along with the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. So we're over. Let me go to this map over here. Beersheba over here, because remember they're over here in Gader, and she just wandered over here to Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she cast the child under one of the bushes. So they have no more water, right? And it's hot over here where you're at in the Middle East. It's super hot, and if you don't have water for a long time, you're gonna die. So all the food was gone, all the water was gone. They were starving. They were probably thirsty. They were hungry. It was hot. It's hard. They're about to die, right? So when the water in the skin was gone, she cast the child under one of the bushes. So she put him in the shade. Then she went and sat down over against him a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. So she probably went away like 50 yards or something like that from him. For she said, quote, "Let me not look upon the death of my child." So she's saying, we're going to die. we're in the middle of nowhere. We have no food. We have no water. It's super hot. We're gonna die. I don't even. And then she's like, okay, if we're gonna die, I don't want to look at my son dying. Uh, I can't bear that. So she left him underneath a bush and walked away. And she sat over against him. Uh, the child lifted up his voice and wept. So the child cried, right? And God heard the voice of the baby, and the angel or the child, and the angel of the God and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. So an angel, I'm pretty sure the same angel that promised her uh, that your son Ishmael will be okay. I will protect him, and we'll make him a nation. It's the same one that said, "What troubles you, Hagar?" So it says, the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is." So God heard him crying. "Arise, lift up the lad, lift up the child, and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." So she's saying, "Look, go back to your child, lift him up. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna make a great nation out of him." And they probably fed him and they gave him water. Then God opened her eyes, and this is right here. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the lad, so God was with the child, and he grew up. So pretty much, she went back to the child, she picked him up, and she opened her eyes, and she saw a well. The God made a well appear to be able to give water, to be able to, make sure they're still alive. He lived, so it says, and God was with the child, and he grew up. So throughout his entire growing up, from teenagers to adult, God was with him. God was probably guiding him, making sure he was okay, making sure he was a very righteous and good man, as he promised and said he would do. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Remember, she's Egyptian, so it's probably easy. So he was okay. He was very good he lived in the wilderness. He became an expert with the bow. He probably hunted a lot. He probably, he lived a good life. And he lived in the wilderness of Paran, which is over here in modern day Israel, South Israel, right here. This is where Paran is at. So I'm pretty sure like Beersheba, it's a Gerer, Perasheba, and Paran was all the way down south here. So you're pretty close to Jordan and Egypt. And it says his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. So, he lived a pretty good life. And if anything else comes up, then we know where they're at, right? So now we'll go back to Abraham. So this is at the time of Abimelech and Pikol, the commander of his army. So Abimelech was you could say he was the king of the nation of Gerer, and Pikol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham. So they both, at that time, Abimelech and Pikol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham. So they went to Abraham. God is with you in all that you do. Because remember, they had that vision of God telling him, "Hey, dude, you're messing with the prophet. Don't mess with that." So they knew from that jump. So like, okay, this guy talks and speaks to God. He's a messenger of God. Let's not mess with him. Let's respect him. So they went up to him, Abimelech, the king of the nation of Gerer, and his commander of the army. They said, "God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me here, by God, that you will not deal falsely with me, or with my offsprings, or with my posterity," which means like future generations, "but as I have dealt loyalty with you." Because remember, he gave him, once he found out who Abraham is, he gave him animals, money, food, the land. He said, "Wherever you want to stay in my land, stay there freely." So he's like, "But I have dealt loyalty with you. I have dealt loyally with you, and you would deal with me and with the land where you have sojourned," meaning as in where you have temporarily stayed, because this wasn't his home. You're just staying here forever. And he offered his home to him, and he said, "Wherever you want to stay, it's fine." But he knows Abraham's not going to be here forever. So he's just letting him know, don't mess with me, because I've dealt loyally with you. And Abraham said, "I will swear." So he swore that he won't mess with him, his offsprings, or his future generations, because he has dealt loyally with him, to him. So it says, when Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had seized. So wherever Abraham was staying in the land of Abimelech, some of his servants, looked like took a well of one of his water wells. And he told it to Abimelech. And Abimelech said, quote, "I do not know who has done this thing. You did not tell me, and I have not heard about it until today. So Abraham brought it up to him that, hey, one of your servants took my well. Abimelech said, I don't know who did this. Uh, you never told me about this before, so this is the first time I'm hearing about this. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech. And the two men made a covenant. So they both made a deal, Abraham and Abimelech. Abraham sat 7 ewe lambs of the flock apart. So he gave him sheep and oxen, and he separated 7 ewe lambs of the flock apart to give to him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what is that meaning? What is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs which you have set apart? Abraham said, these 7 ewe lambs you will take from my hand. So he's saying, you're gonna keep these, that you may be a witness for me that I dug this well. So he's saying, you're gonna be so pretty much saying that, look, I made this well. This is my water. I'm giving you these 7 ewe lambs. Pretty much is just say, like, look, I'm gonna give this to you, and you're gonna be and that's gonna be enough for you to say that you are my witness that I made these wells for me. Therefore, that place was called Beersheba, which is right over here, because there both of them swore an oath. So they made a covenant at Beersheba, which is right over here. Then Abimelech and Pico, the commander of his army, rose up and returned to the land of the Philistines. So, because remember, Abimelech and his commander of his army, Pecola, and probably his entire army came to Abraham just so they can make a deal and just to talk to Abraham and say, look, Abraham, don't do me wrong, dude. Don't. I've dealt with you loyally. I gave you, your land where you're going to stay at. I gave you animals. I gave you money. I didn't mess with you whatsoever. Just please don't mess with me, my offsprings, and my future generations. And Abraham said, I swear to God. And then, and it says, after that, they got up and they returned to the land of Philistines, which is right over here. Philistines, which is probably over here on the west coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, okay, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. So he planted a tree there, and he called on the Lord. He probably wants to speak to him. And Abraham sojourned many days in the land of the Philistines. So he probably Philistines right here, but I'm pretty sure it's a pretty big region. So Beersheba is where I'm assuming he was staying at. Maybe in the next chapter it tells us where exactly, but as far as I understand, Abraham stayed there. Abraham, right here, Beersheba. He sojourned, so he stayed there temporarily, but for many days in the land of the Philistines. And he called on the Lord. So maybe in the next chapter, the Lord's gonna come, and we're gonna be able to see what they're talking about or what they want to do next. But that's pretty much it for the chapter, guys. Pretty big stuff, One, his second wife Hagar and his son Ishmael, they got sent away. Abimelech and Abraham made a pact, made a covenant to not mess with each other and to respect each other as they have been doing so. And then Abraham planted a tree in Beersheba and called for the Lord, the everlasting God. So that's it for chapter 21. I'm curious what's going to happen. Chapter 22, but the only way to find out is to click on the next video. So hope you guys have a good day, have a good week, and may God bless you and the Holy Spirit be with you, guide you, and help us. So thank you guys.